missed it.
If you're a spin fisherman, you probably fish spinners, like this one here. Besides spinners, spinners are very good for catching trout. They're probably the best lure to catch trout. Although spinners work really well, there are times when they don't work at all. I remember once I was fishing a trout stream in southwest Wisconsin, and I caught 35 brown trout on a spinner. It was a good day of fishing. A year later, I came back to that same stream. I fished for 3 hours with that same lure, and I caught nothing. I took off the spinner, I put on a woolly bugger, I put a little sinker above the woolly bugger so I could have some casting weight, and in the next 3 hours, I caught 20 brown trout. It was great. I would have caught more, but they had mangled my woolly bugger so much it didn't work very well after that. It was the first time I tried fishing a fly on a spinning rod, and it really worked when the spinner totally failed. So it shows you that sometimes spinners are great, sometimes you need a fly. Now, to deal with that dichotomy, that different conditions, the unpredictability of trout, I fish both a lure and I fish 2 flies behind it. And the way I do that, it's a pretty simple method. I don't know anyone else who does this. I devised the method myself. Maybe someone else uses it. Who knows? But I have about 12 to 18 inches behind the lure, I've got my first fly, which is almost always a woolly bugger. And then 12 to 18 inches behind that, I have my second fly. My second favorite fly is the number 12 Harris Airsoft Tackle. Woolly bugger, usually probably my favorite woolly bugger is the number 8 Beadhead Crystal Olive woolly bugger. Black works good on cloudy days. We have a cloudy day today, so that's why I've got black on. I catch most of the fish on the woolly bugger. I tend to catch the biggest fish on the spinner. But there are some days when all of my fish are caught on the Harris Airsoft Tackle. I don't know why, it's just the way it works. Besides spinners, you might also want to try a spoon. My favorite spoon usually is a 1/16 ounce Daredevil. 5 Diamonds color tends to work well. I find with spoons, the color of the spoon is very important. If the spoon is green, I found it does not catch fish. It might catch a few creek chubs, but it does not catch trout. Yellow works well. I've tried black and orange on cloudy days, and that works well. A 1/10 ounce Swedish Pimple in Prism Red will catch a lot of brook trout. If it's not red, if it's not Prism Red, forget it, you won't catch anything on it. I don't know why, but that's my experience. A spoon has the advantage of sinking very slowly. It tends to flutter, and so when you're casting upstream and reeling back with the current, you can get a slower retrieve using a spoon, which is the advantage of a spoon. If you want to fish nymphs, then I'd recommend fishing them behind a spoon. A very popular nymph I like to use is a number 12 pink squirrel. It's a very popular nymph out here in southwest Wisconsin. It was created by a southwest Wisconsin resident. I also have good luck on a number 10 red squirrel as well. That's a different type of nymph, and it works good too. I fish those behind a spoon. Another way of fishing flies with the spinning rod is, well, of course, the dry fly. Now, when we think of fly fishing, typically you think of dry fly fishing, and the reason why is because dry fly fishing is really fun. Having the fish come up and hit the dry fly, and you can see it all, that's just great. For brown trout, I don't think it's the best way to catch the fish. I think we catch more going deeper in the water. For brook trout, it's a great way. For cutthroats and rainbows, it's great. We don't have any cutthroats and very few rainbows in southwest Wisconsin. Brown trout are catchable on the dry fly. I've heard of fish up to 24 inches being caught on dry flies. I've had some good luck fishing dry flies as well. Now, the way I do this is typically most spin fishermen fishing a dry fly, they use a bobber. I think a bobber is a bad idea. They're big, they're bulky, they're clumsy, they scare the fish. Instead, I use a crankbait. I use such as this orange Rapala here. I take the hooks off to avoid tangles, and I put a little piece of tungsten putty on the bottom to give it some of its weight back so I can cast it. It still floats. And then 3 to 4 feet behind, I have a dry fly. Here I've got a grasshopper. Plenty of other dry flies work fine out here. Beetles tend to work very well out here. In late May, there's a lot of June bugs. Those are big black beetles that come out and fish like to eat them. The advantage of using this crankbait here, this Rapala, as a casting weight is that it's more aerodynamic. It doesn't create a big wave when you reel it through the water. It doesn't scare the fish as much. Fish oftentimes are attracted to it. I've seen fish swim up to this crankbait and take a look at it, stare at it. I've seen them nibble on it. And then when you finally decide you don't want to eat it, they'll turn around, they'll see the dry fly, and then they'll go hit the dry fly. I set the hook and I've got a fish. I've seen this happen over and over and over. That's not going to happen with the bobber. They see a bobber, they're going to turn the other way and swim away. But this does work. It's also a good way of fishing nymphs. You can fish a nymph underneath your dry fly, or you can fish 2 nymphs underneath your crankbait there. It works. I've caught a lot of fish, and it's a good way. Now, I will say this much, that if you're fishing a small stream, such as this little stream back here, it's very small, very shallow, very clear water, I would recommend, if you want to fish dry flies, to use a fly rod, because as nice as this little thing is, it still does make some noise in shallow water. It'll still probably spook some fish. Fly rods are less spooky to a fish, so a small stream, this doesn't work too well. But the medium size or larger streams, this works great. I've had great success on it.